Hello again. Thank you for clicking on to another edition of Jiffy and Stubbsy. Quick resume. Jonathan Davis, dual code rugby star, came up with the idea of talking to the influential players in sport. Asked me to join in. Very grateful to do that. And we've been chatting for quite a few weeks now, Jiff. Have we not? Grateful thanks to Kerry London, one of the leading insurance companies in Great Britain, for sponsoring this series of Jiffy and Stubbsy. We're very grateful. And it's a pretty uncertain world right now. So any financial help you need, Kerry London is a great place to start. Here we go. Today's guests, Sam and Joe Simmonds. Guys, thank you for joining us. Brothers that play for the Exeter Chiefs, the dominant force in club rugby right now, Premiership champions, European Champions Cup winners. Guys, congratulations. Thank you for joining us. Can I just ask, I know you must get asked this every day, but are there any standout moments from the last couple of weeks that come into your mind when you think, hang on a minute, that's what we did, that was fantastic?
For me, to be fair, it was the first game, the European Cup. When we won that, we almost looked at each other, well, I felt like, and couldn't really believe that we'd just beaten, French giants Racing, been in the final. I think that was the third time in the final, and us, little boys from Exeter, have just, beaten them, and it's been an incredible couple of weeks, and we're lucky enough that the season has to start again soon, and we're going to have to get back into it in about 2 weeks' time. So we can't dwell on it too much, but honestly, it's dream come true for me, and obviously you as well, Joe. And it does make it that bit more special being able to play with a family member as well.
Yeah. It has been. It's been a long time coming, Joe, hasn't it? It's that Exeter. I've been there and thereabouts, but everyone's seen the development, and the culture that you've created, and then to see the emotion on everyone once that result was, was with you. So it's been a long time coming, as it's been a lot of hard work and kind of building down in the Exeter and the region.
Yeah, definitely. I think we as a group we always knew that we were capable of doing it. And I think actually losing finals before has definitely drove us to push on for more. And I think you can see it, what we've done this year. The double is something that we speak about quite a lot. And definitely at the start of the year, we spoke about being champions. And I think that led through it, the way we trained throughout the week and the way we played on game day. So, yeah, it's definitely something that we were looking forward to doing. And thankfully, we've done it.
I genuinely felt throughout both weeks and both games, well, apart from the 5 minutes in that Wasps game at the end, I just didn't feel like we were going to lose. I felt like we performed so well, especially post lockdown. Like the performances with that group of 23 were, up there with any team, and I just felt like after that Toulouse game, after the Bar semi-final, I just felt like how can we lose? And there were tight moments in games, which they're always going to be with two good teams. But just looking back on it, it was like, well, that was what we prepared to do. So,
guys, I know you're ultra professional. You have your job to do, but Jiffy will tell you I'm quite an emotional type. So, but are there still moments that you look over and see each other and think, I'm doing this with my brother? Surely that must be extra special. And in moments of celebration or moments when, you're under the cosh a little bit, do you ever still look over to each other and have a glance?
I think we do. Like, it's more, we speak to our family a lot, and it's usually after games we reflect on it. But for me, it's probably before the games. We always have a little talk, don't we, before games. In games, it's a bit different. But I would say definitely before games, we definitely realise it more. And
for me, I think it's when we walk out. The emotions there. That's before you play in these big games. That's when you have a minute to yourself, and to be able to walk out behind Joe as captain, and me being the older brother is something very special. And obviously with how things have been going with things before the game, when you're out there, when you stand in line, give a clap and stuff like that, and you stand together, and you then see photos after the game. It's just these occasions that some people that play in rugby for 20 years don't get, and we're witnessing them as 25 and 23-year-old, and Joe being captain. It's just I think our parents, sometimes they can't can't speak how proud they are, especially Dad.
Yeah, Sam, like Sam, you're going, right, okay, there's my elder brother, and he's, Joe's been given the captaincy. That's a great honour at such a young age. So he must have been very mature, kind of controlling factor from the stand, obviously not in your head. What's it like? What's it like thinking, yeah, he's my younger brother. Look at him. Do you have a quick word with him sometimes, or just go, I'll just leave him to his own thing, and don't bother me now, Joe. Don't bother me. Just let me alone.
Yeah, I think early on I was kind of probably felt the same as you. I was like, why have they made him captain? But I think he's just grown into the role, like with how the club captain is, with Yendel's club captain, and he speaks a lot through the week. He does a lot of the talking to the coaches, but with his position, Dickie starts quite a lot, so he's on the bench. So that did give opportunities for Joe to be captain, and I think he's just grown into a role. And at first, like I said, it was a bit of a surprise to me and a lot of the boys, but I think they've just got behind him and realised what he does on the pitch is, emotional and it's real, and it doesn't have to be this talking captain that says a lot of crap, but just does his job and does it well, and wins us games. His kicking ability is unbelievable, and everyone's seen that. But I think his being so emotional and attached to the squad, being an Exeter boy or Timoth boy in Devon, we've got a lot of local players that have that love for the squad and love for the club as well. So I think that helps.
Yeah, at the end of the European final, when the clock issue came, I was watching it, right? Were you thinking, this can't be happening? It's like the clock has gone dead. Everyone knew that. The timekeeper got it all in wrong, right? So you're thinking, no, this can't happen to us. They could kick off, they could catch it, they could sneak it. Were you thinking of that? I thought, thank God for that, it's over.
Yeah, my heart was racing, especially being captain as well, listening to Nigel Owens make the decision. But for me, obviously the time was done, and I noticed that the time had stopped for a while, but as a kicker, I didn't want to change my routine and miss the kick. And it was actually a weird one. I think it's at first the coaches wanted someone like Hoggy, who's got a bigger kick than me, to make sure it goes dead. But I was like, I'm not missing this. I'm having it. And luckily it went over. But then when we had that scare at the end, my heart was racing.
I was looking at the clock in the ground, and it stopped. It was stopped on 79:37, I think. And I was thinking, why is he still stepping up to kick like this? It's not started. And then it went over, and you have like 5-10 seconds of celebration, and Nigel Owens is walking back. The whole Racing team's walking back. Like, what's going on?
It was odd because everyone knew at home, right? Everyone knew the clock must have been like close to 81 minutes, so everyone knew. You cannot. Fair play. Nigel then said, because I spoke to Nigel a week after, and he said, oh no, I couldn't have that happening. He said, if they had come back lost, it'd have been all on me. So he did a good job, and thankfully it was all over. So you mentioned Tamworth. It must be fantastic, living in the region. Talk to us about the culture, because I know, and Ray and I come from an era where we created our own culture, and that was usually in the pub. So the two best sides in the Premiership, well, there has been for recent years, you and Saracens. You have very similar cultures, really, don't you? Yeah,
I think so. I think it's definitely built on enjoying yourself.
Yeah,
and then it's also it's got to be built on the performances as well. Winning is what you want to do in rugby. I think that. I think the enjoyment does breed good performances, but it comes from the coaches. The coaches, if we're, messing around or not quite on it, Ali, boys call him the A train, will go straight at you, and that's what you need. That's what you need in not just the big games. It's throughout the whole season. The season is a slog. You have to win these games where you go away to sail away on a Friday night where it's horrible weather, and all that matters is the result. And I think the way that Ali and Rob and both Robs have created the squad around us, where they've sprinkled it with some top class internationals, but then you look around the squad and you think these players are just do it week in, week out. People like Dave Ewers, Jack Yendall, Ian Whitten, boys like that that might not get the plaudits that Hoggy or Knowlesy or Slaggy might get, but they just do it week in, week out, and that builds a good culture in the fact that anyone can play in this team. If you're good enough, anyone can play.
Yeah.
Guys, what are your thoughts about international rugby? Because I feel certain that you spoke with great emotion before about being in the team together. I'm assuming you would dream of running out together and playing international rugby. And there was a lot of surprise when you weren't in the latest squad. But I also read that Eddie Jones had spoken to you. And if that's accurate, I'm also conscious of what must have been like if his name comes up on the phone. I'm assuming he phoned you and all of a sudden it comes up Eddie Jones, or is it no caller ID? But just, I'm really keen to ask you about just the fact that he bothered to phone and what impact that had on you.
We were actually on our end of season social when he run, so
it wasn't a great time to be phoning.
No. Yeah, just don't answer him. Don't answer him. I bet he doesn't come up as Eddie Jones as well. You come up with some comic name, I suppose.
No, it was. It was pretty early though, so we weren't too bad. But,
yeah, it was the first time I'd never spoke to Eddie before that. So he actually just left me a text to say, "Give me a call." And if I'm honest with you, it was quite a positive call, to be honest. There was nothing negative about it. He said that he was happy with the way I'm playing, but I just wasn't in the squad. It was quite a short call, to be honest with you. He just said, keep working hard. But like, it's everyone's dream, I think, to play international rugby. I say it a lot. My focus is to play well at Exeter, and if I'm playing well at Exeter and I get the recognition to play international rugby, it'll be great. But yeah, the phone call was just short and sharp, really. Just, he's happy with how I'm playing, but just keep improving.
Well, because Sam, you had an injury, didn't you? That put your international career back a little bit. So you kind of come back, and you're in the fold.
Yeah, I feel like since my injury, this season especially, I'm back to playing some of my best rugby, if not better, before when I was injured. But yeah, when I spoke to Eddie, he's very truthful and said to me that I'm having a great season. I've had a great season, but he feels that in an unstructured environment where Exeter is structured to how I guess I play and gets me into the game and stuff like that, gives me opportunities to carry, which I agree with. Where at England in an environment like that might not happen, but he hasn't said that I won't not be in the squad in the future. But yeah, for me, I guess just keep improving on the little things. I know there's things that I can work on, but I guess at the time I was pretty happy with winning 2 trophies and felt like I had a good season. So I was pretty gutted. But the door's not closing 25 or 26 next month. So keep improving, keep working hard for Exeter, and see what happens.
As a proud Welshman, I'm very sad to say England rugby looks in really healthy condition, right? Which is sad. But it's you look at it. You've got, if anything, you've got Farrell and Ford at 10, so that's difficult for you, Joe. And then Sam, you're the same. You've got maybe the star players, but that just says, with you two waiting in the wins, the strength and depth is absolutely phenomenal. So anytime you've got to step in, you'll be able to step into the grade and take the most opportunities.
That's the thing. I said to my agent before the squad got announced, I said, if you look around the back row and you look around the players that are playing well at the time, you can only put your hand up, and there's only a certain amount of spots to be picked from. But Jack Willis, Ben Earl, Tom Curry, Underhill, all these boys that Billy's your number 8, and it's kind of working around that then. Yeah. So I understand it's tough to get in there, but it is still frustrating. It's still frustrating.
The same with you, Joe. You've got the England captain there. Then if they fiddle about with Ford, but there's a lot of youngsters as well. But you must be really chomping at the bit just to get into the environment and show how good you are. Yeah,
definitely. I think you've obviously heard. Well, I'm actually older than Marcus Smith and Umunga, who've been great for 2 seasons now in the Premiership. So they're getting the credit that they deserve. And Smith hasn't been involved, but he's been involved in previous camps and stuff like that. So yeah, for me, I would love to have a taste of what it's like to be in that environment. But yeah, I think similar to Sam, I'm still 23, so if I can keep performing well, then maybe I'll get the chance. But I think it drives me a little bit that you can see Umunga's obviously been named in the squad and he's only 22. So if you do have good seasons, you will get picked. I think for me, that's definitely a driver.
I think Joe should be there. I'm biased, obviously, but I think the season that he's had is as good as any 10 that's ever had a good season in Premiership. Obviously, I'm biased, but I think I don't know how he can be overlooked at the moment.
It is. Hey, unfortunately, that you have maybe one guy who picks it.
Yeah.
That's the way it is. It's
exactly,
just really awkward. Yeah, it is. So you spoke about your family and how proud were everyone when especially because let's go back first of all. It's been such a difficult season. What was it like coming back into it after COVID? Being such a fragmented season. How have they kind of worked it out with Rob Baxter and coming back into training and then getting the momentum to achieve what you did?
It was actually we had at the start of lockdown, the coaches give everyone a phone call. And it was actually probably the individual work that we did in lockdown to get us ready for the start of the season. I think everyone turned up in great shape. They looked fit. And I think we kind of had an edge on most teams because we worked so hard in that lockdown period. So it was quite easy for us just to come in and get straight into training.
When it got to the first game, Rob said, there's 10 weeks. Don't let this 10 weeks pass you by. And I don't know how many games were in that 10 weeks. There was probably more than 10 because of how the games worked. But it was some boys were like 10 weeks. That's a long time, but it just went like that. And he was right in saying, don't let this 10 weeks be like pass you by. We could be double champs by the end of this 10 weeks. And I think boys just like after hearing that was just like ready to go every game, whether it was a changed up team. It almost didn't matter what team we put out. Everyone wanted to achieve the same thing. And you saw people like, Stino, Phil Dolman, in that Bristol game alone. It was unbelievable to see. And, we were all celebrating it. We all watched it together. And, we were confident in watching it, but we were a bit apprehensive with the Bristol side that they put out. People will say it wasn't their strongest team, but it was pretty strong. And people were saying, Exeter have got no chance like that. And to see a lot of young boys make their debuts, a lot of older boys get their chance again, and that was kind of like the win where we were like, Jesus, like that's class. Like, but yeah, 10 weeks to create history, and it did go quick, but so thankful that we've done it in that way.
Jiffy mentioned the word culture before. I think I know what he means. Can you share with us what form, well, as best you can, the celebrations took? Because I would imagine, having never been in the situation, there's adrenaline and there's the initial moments after the successes, but then maybe a couple of days later when everything sort of calms down a little bit, did you all get together after the day, if it were? You mentioned social before, but I would imagine when you have the reflective party, that's pretty good as well.
Any fancy dress?
Yeah, a bit of fancy dress, always a bit of fancy dress for us. The first game was quite tame, wasn't it? Like, it was huge that we'd won the European Cup, but we all kind of felt we had a job to do the week after. So we got back to the club quite late, wasn't it, from Bristol? Because we spent about 2 hours just sat in the changing rooms, just like thinking, how have we done this? Pictures, some beers, stuff like that. That was at Ashton Gate, and then got the bus back, which was only an hour and a half, which boys drove it in then. And then got back to the club, and Tony, allowed us to go into the club, and just, we're all in our bubble anyway, so we could all just celebrate together. But that was only a couple of hours because we felt like the week after could be even bigger. And after the double, we had a couple of days of it, didn't we?
I think the feeling definitely winning the Europe was different, you think, than winning the Premiership? I think obviously it's different not having your family and friends there to celebrate, but I think it was just so nice to sit in the changing room for 2 hours with everyone involved and just have a few beers.
I felt like the atmosphere surrounding the European Cup game, I don't know if it was because it was a smaller stadium, might have played its part. But even though there was no crowd at the European Cup game, it felt like a huge game. It felt like a massive atmosphere with, I don't know, the French bringing their horns and stuff like that. I don't know. But then the week after, with the rain, with an 80,000 seat stadium, the boys that were allowed into the stadium were trying to make as much noise as they could, but it was dead. Like and it kind of felt at the end of that game, it was like, that was, thank God we won that. Like, that was a relief. Whereas the first one was just pure.
I'd say that as well for the Premiership, because we previously lost the last 2 finals, and that final was so close as well with the weather and everything. That I think for me personally, it was more of a relief, because I've been involved in the finals that we lost, and the feeling losing them were just terrible.
I looked around when Wasps had a line out on the 5 metre line, and I just looked around and I was like, no, not again. Surely not. And lucky, Johnny Gray stole the line out. It wasn't the best of throws, but it's hard for a hooker in that weather. Honestly, it was terrible weather, like soaked.
It must be odd for you though. It's like you've won the double. Those are the amazing moments you kind of just mentioned in the change rooms and after. But it's kind of a double-edged sword, your family and the full stadium. You do that, right? You're on a high through the summer until you hit spewing in pre-season again, right?
Yeah.
So you're thinking, no, will that drive you for next year going, I tell you what, we've got to do this now for everyone else in Exeter next year?
I hope so, yeah. I hope that it adds to the motivation of it, because Rob will always say, there's no point in being, he said it after the Prem final when we won in 2017, there's no point in being a team that wins it once. So we kind of got that in the European Cup now. There's no point in being a team that wins it once and then just, is happy with winning it once. But yeah, for family and stuff like that, it's been tough a year for everyone, but sport has been tough as well. And I think we can bring so much joy to not just our family, but fans as well in what we do. And I think, although it's been, we've been allowed 2.5 weeks off before we get back into a 3-day pre-season.
Oh, you're lucky then, 2.5 weeks off. Oh, you don't make the most. Is that why you're in centre backs?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's all we can get to. Then we get back into a 3-day pre-season and then a game week, which is Quins away, which is it's never been done before. So I think everyone will be on a clean slate and it'll be a 11 playing field. And I think it's whoever prepares the best. And I don't know, it's going to be tough. Quins and quite a few of the other teams have probably had 2 weeks of pre-season so far.
Yeah.
And that's, if we get to the big games and that's what happens, you get less time to prepare. But
I've got to ask, what's kind of Rob Baxter like? He's been there like forever, hasn't he? He is Exeter, I suppose. So both of you, what's he like? What's he like, Joe?
He's actually pretty easy to get along with.
He's not going to be watching this, so don't worry, right?
No.
I don't know. He loves his rugby. He watches everything.
I think he seems like he's obviously lovely, but easy to get along with it. And I think he comes across as a really nice bloke, which he is. But I think the good thing is the players respect him a lot because he can snap, and I think that's just shown by the way he leads. He's obviously a great leader as well. He's captain Exeter in so many games and now coach of Exeter as well. And I think he's a great bloke to be involved with. But I think it's a great thing that everyone respects him massively, and I think that's why we get the good performances, because it comes from the top, it comes from Rob, and he feeds through the coaches and the players. So I think he's definitely a massive drive for this club. They
never stop. Like, as coaches, they genuinely never stop. It must be a savage job, because they did stop after the Prem final, but usually they're just on their computer looking at the next game, the next week. They'll have a beer and they'll celebrate it, but they've got to be the ones that that's just one game. You got Monday, you get prepared for Monday, and then it's another week or that. Whereas we can celebrate the win, we can enjoy the Saturday, Sunday, where they're reviewing it, they're previewing the next week, and they just don't stop. It's a tough job.
I think leader as well. Sorry, in the group, there's about 5 of us, and obviously it's hard as players to motivate yourself every week to get up for a game. But every Monday we come in there, the coaches are just so intense, and they just love what they do.
Yeah.
And I think I respect them massively for that, because even me being a leader, I sometimes struggle to motivate myself to get up for games, but they are constantly on it, constantly driving performances and stuff like that. So yeah, fair play.
I love the culture that's been created there, because there's a little bit of like old school, and professional amateur ethos. And I think because I think professional sportsmen, you're in a privileged position, and when you retire, you really understand that. But it's when you lose together, and they are the worst moments in your career. But when you win, you have to celebrate, don't you? You have to celebrate, because those are the moments that bond and create everything.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of the culture of Exeter. Like, I think when they first got promoted, a lot of the boys that like Dolly, Stino, and those boys that have been around for ages said, like, after every away game, where if they won or lost, it didn't matter. They'd be coming back on the bus steaming. And Rob would be back there as well. The coaches, it would be enjoy it. And I think the more successful we've got and the more professional the game's got, we can't be doing that every game, every away game, which is, and we understand that. We can have beers and stuff like that, but it can't be, full steam ahead. If we beat someone away, like it's got to be a little bit more toned down. But like there are, the socials, this is before lockdown, we'd have 4, 5, 6 chances of team socials each year. That the coaches said, this is what you need to do, because you do socialise in the club, and I feel like we're a very tight group, but that's when you get to know people more, like over beers. The truth comes out a little bit more, I guess, and whether it's boys fighting or I don't know, getting on, like that's when you build friendships, and I generally feel like that is what Rob wants from the group, and we enjoy that. We enjoy getting pissed after games and stuff like that. but it's got to be after a big win, or it's got to be after something that we've achieved, and the coaches understand that, and it's definitely good fun to be a part of.
Guys, time has nearly beaten us. Who were the players you looked up to as you were growing and developing into the game of rugby, please?
Christ.
You can say me.
No way. I think as a 10, it's always going to be Johnny Wilkinson, and Dan Carter. Actually, growing up, I would always watch their videos and stuff like that. And obviously, when Wilkinson won the World Cup for England, I think that was a big moment for me. So I'd definitely say them two. But this year, I'd say Bowden Barrett at the moment as well. He's obviously playing fullback a lot, but I like to take some parts of his game that I'd definitely like to have. So I'd say those 3 are definitely my key ones.
I feel like, it's tough. I don't know. I think, like Joe said, Johnny Wilkinson kind of did change the game for a lot of kids in our era growing up. I don't know. That's what you remember as a kid, is him winning the game against Australia. And I think we were both footballers when we were growing up as well. Like it was an array of sports that we didn't just focus on one. I was a huge Liverpool supporter, so I think Steven Gerrard as a captain, I always wanted to be. Although Joe's got the captaincy, I always wanted to be a leader in the way that he did things on the pitch. I don't know how much of a spokesman he was, but like just the actions he did on the pitch, which drove the team forward, was unbelievable.
Huge Liverpool fan, but never been to a game.
Well, neither had a chance. Have I? We play every Saturday.
There we are. Well, Ray knows everyone in Liverpool, so don't worry. You might get another. I enjoy that, because I think when you play different sports as a kid, and especially soccer players, you've got to make decisions on the ball when you're a soccer player and you're growing up. So I think playing all different kinds of sports enhances you as a rugby player. I certainly do that, because
I'll say that just, definitely. Joe was supposed to be quite a good footballer. He said when he was growing up, he played Torquay United.
Torquay,
not bad.
I'd say that Torquay United, not bad. That.
Yeah. What positions were you playing, guys?
get this question a lot. So I actually started, I think same for Sam.
I feel like
I started as a striker and then slowly moved down. I ended up being a centre-back. So.
Exactly the same for me.
Hey, that's where the money is, boys. That's where the money is. That's where the money is. So.
Well, guys, it's certainly to Exeter's benefit that you played rugby. It's great to talk to you today, and I have to say, the bond there is between you seems to me to expand to be the bond in Exeter, in the entire region. That must make you feel really proud, but I guess it's a responsibility too.
I like to think that, that's quite a nice thought that us two playing together, you know, a lot of younger kids that look up to us, because it's different seeing just one person from a team do well, but if kids, you know, at the same age as 8 or 10 when they were younger, 2 years apart, and see me and Joe playing the same team, you know, starting in the same team, Joe as captain and stuff like that, like to inspire people like that would be unbelievable, because it's very special one person doing it, but to get two people from the same household and you know, being siblings playing in the same team is just genuinely what dreams made of. And I never thought that I would even play for Exeter in the Premiership when I was younger, and I don't think you probably did either. And to be able to be in the same team, the best team in England, the best team in Europe, is actually nuts. And to be fair, to be able to say that is crazy.
Yeah, I know it's the same with Joe. It must be the same, like when you think, right, you know, when you see, because when injuries plays a big part in the game. So, you know, when Joe, you see Sam, you go, he'll be all right. But then when Sam, you see Joe injured, you go, get up, will you little soft, you sit up.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
Yeah. I think especially when Sam had his injury, although it hit him hard, it actually probably hit me quite hard as well, not having him there for, how long are you out for? 6 months, 7 months?
About 7 or 8 months.
Yeah, so I think, it's just part of the game, isn't it, injuries? But yeah, whenever I see Sam down, I always tell him to get up. He's soft anyway, so he's learned a few things off me. You can learn a few things off me.
Guys, time has beaten us. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. All the very best for the future. Congratulations on what you have done. Sam and Joe Simmonds, thank you for joining us on Jiffy and Stubbsy. We all say this. Take care, everybody. Stay safe.
Cheers, boys.
Look after yourself. Tough times. Take care. Bye. And thanks for listening to Jiffy and Stubbsy. Hope you'll join us again. Please hit the subscribe button.